Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healing Connections podcast. I'm your host, Emmy Vadnais, and today we are talking about how to make the best decisions with intuition. And you can think of me as the guest today because I have written this book, Intuitive Development, and I wanted to share just a few little tips about how to make the best choices. We all have so many decisions to make in a day. We probably make hundreds, maybe even more than that, decisions in a day, from what am I going to have for breakfast? Am I going to have breakfast? What am I going to wear today? Who are my friends going to be? Who might be my partner? Do I want to stay with my partner? Where do I live? Where do I work? So many decisions that we have to make. And so my first question is, how has intuition helped me the most? And that really is, I think, one of the ways is with making choices. It's also helped me a lot because one of the main ways of connecting with intuition is meditation. It's also been very great for helping with relaxation and managing stress. But I think that looking back on over 20 years of me studying and practicing, working with intuition, it's really all about making decisions. And one of the best ways to connect with your intuition is by quieting the mind. And this can be done through meditation, guided imagery, mindfulness, many different types of activities, breath work, where you're able to come more and more into the present moment, not thinking about the past or the future. And you can also do this if you are like, oh, I'm not really sure I want to meditate, or meditation is hard for me. I would encourage you to, first of all, find a teacher. I've had a teacher for many years. I also teach meditation, and get in touch with me if you would like. I also have classes on meditation. But you can really start getting the benefits of meditation right away. And also on my YouTube channel, I've got some great meditations you can check out, some that are, right around 10 minutes or so. And you can just start out with something really simple, starting out with maybe some breath work, maybe a simple progressive body relaxation technique, and maybe check out my mindfulness meditation or whatever speaks to you. So those are just some examples, because what that does is it helps us to kind of pull back our senses from our environment. This is why people tend to like dim the lights or put on soft music or no music, and to maybe have, depending on where you are in the world and the climate and the weather and so forth, you might want to have a blanket, or this is why people have meditation or prayer shawls, so that your temperature you might start to feel a little bit more cool, and you might want to have something on to kind of warm you up. And then, of course, it's very normal, by the way, with meditation, which I don't want to spend too much time on here today, because I want to get back and talk about choices and decisions, but just so that you're not afraid of meditating, because some people say, oh, I can't meditate, I'm not good at it, because it's very normal that when you begin meditating, that all sorts of things bubble up or seem to bubble up from the consciousness, from the mind, that we're maybe not normally used to paying attention to, or we distract ourselves from because we don't want to hear the noise in our mind or the emotions that we might be feeling, because maybe it's just too uncomfortable. And so that's why I think it could be nice to have a meditation teacher or work with somebody who's actually a therapist, who's also trained in meditation, somebody like myself, if you want, whomever you want to work with, so you can get that support, because there can be some parts of our psyche that want attention in that process. That being said, you can get a lot of benefit of just with some simple relaxation techniques to retreat from all of the sensory input, turn off your cell phone, your email, and just take 5, 10 or more minutes to yourself to just kind of begin to just be, and kind of let that mud settle in the mind so the water becomes more clear. And also, if you're not sure you're quite ready to begin a meditation practice, or if you feel like it's kind of touch and go, like I said, get some support. Yoga, by the way, is very popular for being able to do the asanas, the physical postures. And like my yoga teacher said, who also I meditated with him, I've had a few different meditation teachers. He said that we do yoga, the asanas, so that we can then sit and commune with God, because that helps to open up the energy channels. It does so much physiologically to the body and that nice connection to the mind, body, spirit. So if you are into yoga or want to take up yoga, definitely check that out. There's many ways to be able to quiet the mind. I was also going to suggest that if you're not wanting to get into meditation, or it's not something you want to do now, or maybe yoga just isn't your cup of tea, or for religious reasons, maybe you feel averse to it, which of course yoga is not a religion, although I suppose you could make it one if you wanted, that you can simply maybe go for a walk or maybe do some gentle stretching. Dr. Herb Benson, who coined the term the relaxation response, found that repetitive exercise, like a brisk walk or jogging or running, or like an elliptical, doing that repetitive movement can help settle the mind. And I do believe there's physiology that's happening there, meaning that your breath is changing, the blood flow is changing, and so forth, which can all really help to shift the physiology, because what affects the body can affect the mind. What affects the mind can also affect the body. So those are just some tips to kind of get into that intuitive state. And of course, in my book, I have a lot of different ways to do that. I'm just kind of trying to summarize them here for you, because not everybody maybe has the budget to buy a book, or maybe you feel like you don't want to take the time to read all of it, which is totally fine. And also another way to connect with intuition to help you make those good decisions is to engage in maybe one of your favorite leisure activities. And by leisure activities, I don't just mean watching TV or a movie, although that can be beneficial, but doing something like maybe you like to journal or write poetry, or maybe you like to color, maybe you like to draw, maybe you like to bake or cook, maybe you like to garden, maybe you like to go out in nature and collect rocks. I don't know what it is. But whatever it is you'd like to do that is relaxing for you, that can help you not think about the past or the future and just really come into the present moment, that's going to help you, again, withdraw from all of those senses, to not have to be so caught up in worry. That's a big thing that I think a lot of us can really affect our decision-making abilities, is worry. One of the ways that we can really impact our ability to make good choices or not is if we are questioning, right? Which is really what we're doing when we're making a decision. It's a question. We're trying to come to an answer. And what intuition and meditation, all these different activities can do is it can help you to withdraw from that fear and that questioning, so that you can start to see things without that emotional attachment, and to be able to see more clearly, which is why we have the terms such as clairvoyance, which means clear seeing, clairescence, which means clear feeling. And that's what we're doing with intuition, is we want to see things really clearly. So some other activities that can help you with connecting with your intuition to help you make the best choices and decisions are perhaps working with tarot cards or intuitive cards. In my book, I give a description of how to make your own intuitive cards. Or maybe you like to work with runes or I Ching or something like that, that can sort of help you get into more of that contemplative mind. Maybe it's prayer for you. Maybe it's going to a sacred place or space, maybe a church or a synagogue, or maybe it's just going out into nature. And that's why I mentioned the intuitive cards, because they have been profoundly helpful for me. I still actually use them. And when I was making decisions for my book, actually, there were a lot of decisions to make for my book. I used my intuitive cards a fair amount. And I feel they've guided me pretty well. The book has been really well received, and it's actually being recommended in a psychology and occupational therapy course at universities, and I am hoping that more professors will pick that up as well. So I think that, it's been endorsed by some people who are leaders in the field of consciousness and intuition and psi and health. And so I think that it really did help. And also, one of the reasons that I am so passionate about intuition is because when I was first out working as an occupational therapist, and I just kind of hit a wall with how I was working and got burnt out. And I put so much into my years of study, lots of money, lots of sacrifice, as we all do when we go into higher education. And I loved it. I loved the program. I loved the occupational therapy profession, still do to this day. But how I was working at the time was just not resonating with me. And so I embarked on exploring more about holistic health and other forms of traditional healing, such as traditional Chinese medicine with Qigong energy healing. And I met my intuitive teacher and my Qigong teacher there. And by being able to connect within more fully and wholly to myself, which is what I believe intuition does and what it will do for you, is that we can come to a deeper understanding of ourselves and how we can really connect with the most joy, meaning, and purpose, which is what it's done for me. And I didn't have somebody telling me, this is the path you should take and you should do this, or, right. This is with life, our own instruction manual, I think, is written within our own soul, within our own selves. And so by really retreating and coming within ourself, going within yourself, you can connect with that more fully. And so through meditation and through the various activities I was learning at the time, I really learned how to connect with that deep inner knowing within myself. And so I hope that it does the same for you. Another way to know that you are connecting with your intuition is to know what senses are active when you are intuiting. Meaning, do you hear sounds? Do you hear communication? Maybe voices in your mind? Maybe some, connecting with the higher self of you, of course. Do you feel? Do you smell? Do you taste? Are you seeing what's happening when you are connected with your intuition? And when I was first starting out with this, I would say that I would mostly see images, and that's really expanded to where I can feel in my body. I was getting some feelings, but it's all really grown over the years for me. And I can also hear more. And so my senses have really grown. One of the best ways to find out how you intuit is to listen to the special place guided imagery on my YouTube channel. And by listening to that, you will be able to engage your senses. It's sort of like having a mini vacation. And then you can notice which senses were most active when you were in your special place. Were you seeing the most? Were you hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling? What was most active for you? And that's likely how you intuit. A fun way to notice how you intuit and how accurate you are with your intuition is perhaps when you are selecting a movie to watch, or maybe a YouTube video to watch, or a book to read. And just notice when you're looking at the cover, what senses are active in you and how you feel. What emotions are present for you? And maybe even imagine what you might receive from that book, that video, or that movie, and how you might feel after you have read it or watched it. Then go ahead and select it. And then you can use hindsight to see how accurate you were with your intuition. And I think that that's a fun way to do that, in a very innocuous, an easy way to connect with your intuition and strengthen it. And that's that hindsight. And another way is to think about in your life, we've all done this, where you've made a decision in your life and you felt really good about it. One that I can think of is selecting the college that I went to. And I just had an excellent experience in the program that I went to. And so maybe for you, it might be that you picked a great place to live, or maybe it was a vacation you went on. Maybe it was the partner you chose to marry. Maybe it was the children you chose to have, or the children you chose not to have. And just to think back on that decision and how you felt and how you knew that it was the right decision. And that's going to help you to connect with that intuition so that when you make other decisions, you can really be in that sweet spot of that intuition. Now, another component to ponder on is to think about when there was something in your life where you felt you didn't make the best decision. Maybe there's something you're not very proud of, or there's something that you wish you would have done differently. And maybe it's, I can think about, for me, I can think about some places where I've had my business, a few business locations, and the choices that I've made and how long I stayed maybe at a location. And I can think that, yeah, maybe I should have left a little bit sooner. But at the time I was really wanting to give it a little bit more of a go. And so maybe there's something you're not very proud of in your life. I'm not sure what that is for you, but we all learn from these experiences. So this isn't to, beat ourselves up or to feel badly about, but just to notice when you were making that decision, how did you come to that decision? And were you really looking at all of what you could have looked at in that experience? I know for me, with one location where I had my practice, I think I was looking too much at the positive and not really looking at some of the aspects that weren't quite working. And for the most part, I did pretty well there, but I probably should have left a little bit sooner. So for me, that's probably just needing to look at all aspects of a situation. And so for you, what was it when you engaged in that aspect of your life and maybe you wish you could have done it differently? And then that's going to help you to understand that intuition with that hindsight, that 2020. I also want to mention to not try too hard and to also let go of doubt and fear. When we try too hard, we can inadvertently block our intuition. So that's why it's important, and it sort of seems like an oxymoron, but it really is true, is to let go. So for example, maybe there was something in your life where you've been pondering something for maybe days or weeks, and you just were having a hard time making a decision. And then maybe you just one day didn't think about it because maybe you engaged in some other activity. Maybe you spent some time with a friend, got into some other project or activity where you didn't think about it. Maybe had a good sleep. Maybe woke up and you just knew what the choice was. And that's really what we're doing with these activities that help you connect with your intuition, is we really are withdrawing so that you can see things truly more clearly. That being said, sometimes our fear can be an emotion that can help guide us with our intuition. That can be a tricky one sometimes, because sometimes fear is that doubt that's blocking us. This is why I think it's so important to have a regular meditation practice or prayer practice or whatever kind of activity that helps you quiet the mind and the body, which is also really great for health, by the way, so that you can really understand when your fear might be blocking you and it's just doubt and worry, and when it really is something speaking to you. And this is why I like to use my intuitive cards or a tarot deck. For you, it might be the I Ching, it might be something else, so that you can really kind of cut through what information is coming forward so that you can make the best decisions. And also, if you're trying too hard, you're not allowing the information to come. You're also blocking it, which is why it's so important to let go as well. You may be wondering, where is logic in all of this? I'm a huge fan of logic. Many people probably don't know that because I talk so much about intuition, but really they're all just different ways of receiving information. And yes, I think it's important to look at logic and to factor that in when you're making your best decisions and choices, is to listen to your intuition and to also look at pragmatically, what's available as a resource, what would make sense physically, right? Like if you're trying to make a choice on a job, how much it pays, where it's located, the hours, all of those things need to be factored in as well. So, I'm not just having my head up in the sky or deep in my heart or whatever, and not factoring all those pieces in. You want to look at everything and then be able to weigh them and make the best choices. Now, what if you are not sure or you're not ready to make a decision? Now, depending on your situation, you might be under a time constraint and have to make a decision. And so then in that event, do the best you can, obviously, and life is full of learnings. So we all do the best we can in each moment. And if you have more time to play with, maybe it's okay to not make a decision. And maybe that is the decision, is to just let it lay for a while. And then you can decide later. My teacher taught me that if you're not sure what to do, maybe just don't do anything just yet and let more information come forward, or maybe it's not the right timing. And again, that's why I love working with the cards, is because that can help give insight into making the best choices. Before we go, I wanted just to share one more story with you. So many years ago, I took a break from being an occupational therapist, and I had my own massage therapy, reflexology, and energy healing practice. And this was before we knew all the research we know now about how massage can help with pain, and same with energy healing and anxiety and even insomnia, not to mention all the amazing ways it can help with range of motion and helping the body just move more easily and effortlessly. And let's face it, massages are wonderful to receive. They're very soothing, comforting, nurturing, relaxing, and we need that human touch. And I wanted to work in a hospital providing these services. And I was living in St. Paul, Minnesota at the time, and there was a hospital, a main hospital, where I envisioned myself doing that. And I tried to make contact, and it just wasn't coming together. And I was disappointed, but I just thought, well, I'm just going to keep this vision going. And about a year or two later, one of my friends told me about a new program that was being developed at a hospital in Minneapolis. And I started interviewing for the position and got it. And it was for the new integrative medicine department at the Penny George Institute for Health and Healing, which is still going today. This was in, actually, I think I started interviewing for it in around 2002, but I wasn't officially hired until 2003. That program had support at all levels of management, and that program actually got lifted. It happened. And interestingly, one of my coworkers used to be the department head for the program at the hospital in St. Paul, where I thought I might be providing these services. However, it closed. And so this is an example of where I thought I was going to be working in St. Paul at this hospital, but it really needed to have all this support on all levels of management for it to happen. And so I was able to work at that program, which is still going today. And I had a wonderful experience there and learned a lot and got a lot of confidence around using integrative health approaches. In fact, my title there at the time was Integrative Medicine Practitioner. So that's just an example of how sometimes we have a vision or an intention, and it might not be manifesting quite how we thought it would. And sometimes it needs to coalesce a little bit more for it to happen. And so that's where we just have to do our best and go with the flow. Well, I hope this was helpful for you with how to make the best decisions with intuition. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. If you want any support developing your intuition, I'm happy to meet with you in one-to-one sessions. I also have classes, and I'm going to be doing one this fall where you can follow along in the book with each chapter each week for 11 weeks, and I'll be supporting you with developing your intuition. Thank you so much for joining, and until next time, be well. Bye for now.